It is Super Bowl weekend on Grand Slam Sports. My name is Jay Sanj. Alongside me,
Charles Foster.
And I'm Jackson Strasburger.
guys, Super Bowl in New Orleans, Eagles, Chiefs. Second time we've seen this matchup in the last 3 seasons. The Chiefs looking for the first ever three-peat. Time for a preview.
I mean, yeah, the Chiefs are coming in, like we said, with a chance to three-peat. It is going to be a good game. It's one of the few times in the Super Bowl I truly believe if not the best, but the actual best teams playing in the Super Bowl. I think is going to be a very good game between these two. I really do not know who I think is going to win this game.
It's hard to go against the Chiefs. It's hard to say they're not going to win it. But this Eagles team, this Eagles defense is powerful. It's hard to beat them offensively. But again, you have a team who's been here twice in the past 2 years, 3 times in the past 4, and they're on a chance to make history.
I mean, but guys, this time the Eagles have a superstar, maybe the best running back in the NFL, Saquon Barkley. They didn't have a guy of this talent level 2 years ago in the Super Bowl down in Arizona against the Chiefs. How much of a difference maker do you see Saquon Barkley being in this game?
Yes, I mean, he's going to be the difference maker, I believe, if they can get him going. If they can get him truly off. I mean, he has multiple 60-plus yard runs in the playoffs alone, which is the first time. That's more than most people have in a season. And he is going to break free. It's going to be the job of the Chiefs O-line on if they can't finally stop. I mean, the D-line, I'm sorry. If they can stop Saquon Barkley, because so far this season, no one has been able to do it.
On the other hand, the Chiefs have not allowed a 100-yard rusher since last December. Over a year ago, and that was Zamir White with the Raiders. Saquon Barkley is averaging nearly around a 100-yard mark, but it's really going to see what is it the O-line versus the D-line is kind of the matchup that I'm excited to watch.
So what do you guys see as the keys to this game, obviously? I mean, it's Super Bowl, one team can win it. Will it be the Chiefs, the three-peat, the Eagles getting their first since that Nick Foles Super Bowl? What do you guys see as the keys for both teams to try to win this game?
Both of these teams need to do what their defense specializes in. The Chiefs specialize in their passing defense and especially in their secondary. It's very good. And if they can stop the receiving core and stop Jalen Hurts from being able to find 2 of his top receivers, then I believe that they take this one. But on the other side of things, if Mahomes is pressured, if Mahomes has no time in the pocket, it's going to make him have to start to force things to be more creative. Now, that Mahomes has been very comfortable in those situations, but it's still making a quarterback as uncomfortable as possible is the best way to get them to make mistakes. And Mahomes, he does not make a lot of them.
I 100% agree. You look at the Chiefs' defense, they have plenty of strong weapons. It's going to come down to who has a better defense. But the Eagles have these 2 rookies in secondary who have been fantastic. They have the veteran Darius Slay there as well, and some pass rushers that they've had for a while. And that's what it's going to be, is just who's going to win this game defensively.
See, I think for the Chiefs, they need to test those young rookies. Because you have DeJean back there, you have Mitchell back there. They're young. This is their first season in the NFL, and this is the Super Bowl. This is the biggest game they've played in their lives. I think you take some early downfield shots, see if you can't find Xavier Worthy, DeAndre Hopkins down there for a quick, early, big play. Obviously, this is going to be probably a very offensive game. Both teams have very good offenses. The Chiefs and Travis Kelce and Mahomes, whatnot. The Eagles have all the threats they have with A.J. Brown, with Dallas Goedert, with Devontae Smith. They have a great ball team as well. So I think it's going to come down to which offense can outperform the other.
Yeah, I think that offense is obviously the key of the game. But also what defense. The key of the game will be everyone. I mean, it's a Super Bowl. I mean, we saw it last time one of the last times when the Bengals lost. It wasn't in the Super Bowl. Yeah, it wasn't in the Super Bowls in the conference finals, conference championship. But similar thing, where just one bad play, one mistake, cost them that game. And that is, every single play is going to be magnified. Whether you are a starter or you're special teams, you cannot make mistakes. It's the Super Bowl, the biggest stage in the world, one of the biggest cities in the world, against one of the best dynasties in the world. This right here is the time for those Eagles youngins and Jalen Hurts to step up and try their best to finally call their shot, and Jalen Hurts to solidify himself as an actual Super Bowl caliber quarterback.
Like you said, it came down to one mistake. It's going to come down to who capitalizes more off of the other team's mistakes. There's going to be turnovers. There's going to be teams who just can't hear each other, because that place is going to be loud. Inside of a dome in New Orleans, it's always packed, and it's going to be who's a better team, who works together better. And that's why I think the Chiefs might come out here with a win.
Will it be a three-peat? Will it be an Eagles championship? What do you guys think, real quick?
I think my initial thoughts is if the Eagles can play safe, they know how this goes. Patrick Mahomes is protected. I'm not going to sit here and say ref this, ref that, but he is a protected quarterback. Be careful with how you hit them. Be careful with mistakes that you make. Play safe. Keep the flags off the field. I think the Eagles can take this one if they do that.
Jackson.
It's hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes. Very few people have beat him in the playoffs, let alone the Super Bowl yet. He already has 3. He wants 4. He's hungry. I think the Chiefs have it.
I don't think a three-peat can happen. I don't. I think the Eagles win this game. I think Saquon Barkley has a great game. I think he gets 150 yards and 2 touchdowns in this ball game against the Chiefs defense. Give me the Eagles in a blowout victory over the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think this will be close. I really don't. I think the Eagles have the better talent, the more talent on their squad. Obviously, the Chiefs' coaching is there, but the Eagles' talent alone makes me think the Eagles can win this game by a lot. But now, for a team that is not a Super Bowl contender and probably won't be for quite some time,
if ever,
Myles Garrett is making himself available. He has requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns. Guys, he's on the move. Possibly the Browns will see if they give him up. What do you guys think about this possibility?
Well, the Browns have been very clear whenever they say that they're not going to trade him, but he's going to get out. I mean, let's be honest. No one wants an unhappy star player. And Myles Garrett, he's not going to get any younger. You have a high price point that you can get him right now. If we're being honest, they're going to ship him to the opposite side of the country if 100%. They can. Obviously, I think my fantasy place for him was the Ravens if it was him moving himself. But with him being traded, they're going to stay out of the AFC North and out of the AFC. I believe that he will be a Lion or a Green Bay Packer by the end of this year.
I understand the Lions. I feel like he kind of just fits there the most. I just don't think there's enough capital to be given, enough money to be spent on Myles Garrett. I think you go to a younger team, a team that hasn't spent all their money yet in the NFC, you go to the Commanders.
Yep.
I like the Commanders. I do think that is a pretty solid fit, and that's another reason why I said Green Bay as well. In a similar situation where they do need that guy on the edge rusher, and it can be a playoff contender as well.
See, I agree with both of you. I think he'll go to the NFC, but I do see one AFC team as a possibility, the Buffalo Bills. They could use a guy like Myles Garrett, a perennial superstar off the edge, and Myles Garrett. The Bills could use that huge. I mean, it'd be huge for them. But I think he ends up as a Washington Commander if he does get traded. I don't think he will. I think Cleveland's going to be too stickler about it to actually trade Myles Garrett.
Yeah, and that'll be really interesting to see where they go with that, obviously. And you know, Myles Garrett, who was in the NFL honors last night, as we pivot to the NFL honors last night, NFL honors.
Yep.
Josh Allen from the Bills, MVP. What are our initial thoughts on that as we look at Josh Allen? What do you think he deserved it, or do you think it was Lamar Jackson's award?
They got it right. I believe Josh Allen deserves it. I think the name of the thing is the most valuable player. Josh Allen was the most valuable player to his team. Look at Lamar Jackson. He has Derrick Henry, and he has the best defense in football possibly. Look at Josh Allen. His defense is good, but not great. And look at his weapons. I mean, Keon Coleman, and I mean, the trade for Amari Cooper. The running back, James Cook, is good, but he's not like Derrick Henry level. Yeah. I think Allen was the most valuable player, and that's why he deserved this Wins Award, and he won it because of that.
I agree. I don't think there was a wrong option necessarily in this. I feel like you went Lamar. I think most people would have been happy. I do think Josh Allen is where they should have gone. My idea was if you took Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson off of their respective teams and you threw in an average quarterback, what team would have done better? And it's the Ravens. So I think Josh Allen, he's harder to replace.
And now as we look at another thing, obviously Saquon Barkley winning Offensive Player of the Year. That's not the story for me. I think the story is that Ja'Marr Chase did not receive a single first-place vote. What are your thoughts on that? Why did Ja'Marr Chase get so blown out, even though he was a Triple Crown winner?
I've had arguments about this on and off. I think they both are very deserving of this award. I just think Saquon and what he did for the Eagles is above what Ja'Marr Chase could do for the Bengals. I mean, the Bengals not being a contender certainly didn't help. And Saquon Barkley basically turning a good Eagles team into a great Eagles team is what won him the award.
Yeah, and I mean, as we look at some of the other awards, of course, Depoy, Pat Surtain, shout out to him, deserving. It's happy to finally see a cornerback finally getting that role.
Thank you, guys. NBA is up next. Trade deadline finally over. Some crazy moves to talk about. Jackson off, Evan on, and that means we have some basketball to talk. The NBA trade deadline has officially come to a close, and this might have been the craziest deadline we have ever seen in NBA history.
I mean, yeah, I started with me sitting on my couch, right, coming out of an hour of traffic from the Royal Rumble, and I get the notification that Luka Doncic is now a Los Angeles Laker for Anthony Davis.
No way.
What a trade. I mean, I want to know your guys' initial thoughts. What were you guys thinking once you saw that post?
I was heading home from work. I worked 9 to midnight downtown, and I look at my phone as I get in the car, and I see that Luka's been traded to the Lakers, and I'm like, there's no way. Shams had to have been hacked. This cannot be real. Because, I mean, like, if you're going to hack him, at least make it realistic. Because this didn't even seem realistic at first.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't seem like AD and Christie were enough for Luka Doncic, but The Mavericks owner, I guess he's tweaking out or something, but the Lakers, they got themselves a superstar and the face of the franchise after LeBron James retires.
I mean, not only does it not make sense, but my first initial thought was, dang, I'm never going to be able to afford a Lakers ticket ever again. I mean, it's already expensive to see any game, even here in Indiana, to see a Lakers game. Mm-hmm. But now you add, you got LeBron and Luka on the same court. Dude, they just upped their value on ticket sales so much. So, it's a crazy trade. It doesn't really make sense, but, dude, value.
Now, I want to say from my perspective, one thing I will say. The biggest thing that we are seeing right now is Lakers A+++ and Mavericks F.
Yeah.
I want to say this. It is not as bad as a trade as people are making it sound. Yeah. Is it a good trade? No. However, if you are in an organization and you have a player that you do not believe is your future, whatever reason that may be, and you owe him $369 million, and you pay him despite not wanting him to be your future, I mean, I'm sorry, but that's stupid. So, I mean, for them to trade for, in my opinion, a top 2 center, I think he's better than Embiid as a center, I don't hate the trade as much as many people do.
And I think people don't realize how good Max Christie can be. This guy's 21 years old, and he put up great numbers in his first game as a Maverick. This guy is going to be a future star in this league, and I think the Mavericks got decent value out of Luka. Do I think they should have put him on the block first and had a bidding war? 100%. Because to just go to one team and say, hey, you want Luka? Why? Like, I mean, you're just giving him to LeBron James for no reason. Like, you're giving him to a rival of yours in the West when you probably could have gotten way better offers for Luka than what they got in this value.
I do believe that there's actually a possibility that the Mavericks could be better this year than they were. I do believe AD's been healthier. The team will be better defensively. I do not hate this trade. I really don't. Now, for the long run, the Mavericks will be irrelevant in about 5 years. That's the honest take of this trade. But for now, if they were to want to make a championship run, it's probably not going to happen this year, but I do think that they are closer this year than they were at the starting point of the season. Luka's only played 20-plus games.
Yeah, but
I did not like this Mavericks team the way that it was.
But I think the Lakers just opened up a window for themselves as well. You got LeBron James, you got Luka. We have another trade we'll talk about later in this segment. The Lakers made some great moves.
Oh, yeah.
But there's another big move, one that was more expected possibly, and that was De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs. This one came out rumors a few weeks ago. We kind of thought it might happen. It did happen. The Spurs got De'Aaron Fox to pair with Stephon Castle and Victor Wembanyama. What a team the Spurs are building, and quietly they're becoming a Western Conference contender.
Yeah, I mean, Evan, obviously I want to know your first thoughts on the move.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great, and with Fox and Wemby, I think they're going to make a really good duo. So I'm really excited to watch. I think they definitely set themselves up for a really good year next year, and they just have a really solid team. Everybody can play on there, and it's really it's well put together. I think Fox was definitely a good cherry on top to create that perfect team.
I think the biggest thing that we should shout out for the Spurs is that they got their guy in De'Aaron Fox without losing a single one of their young talents. Devin Vassell is still in a Spurs jersey. Stephon Castle is still in a Spurs jersey. And this is the team now that is set for the future as well as the present as we shape things to the other side of the things. The Kings, obviously, they got the very weird kind of short end of the stick, but not short. I don't even know how to explain this trade. They saw what the Bulls did. They saw the Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan duo, and they decided, yes, that's what we want, but in purple. And for some reason, that is the move that they made, and I don't see the vision in it. I mean, try and enlighten me if you guys do.
I don't see much of a vision either behind this. I mean, Zach LaVine, he's a great talent. I think getting him out of Chicago, getting him a new scenery can help him. But obviously, we saw the Bulls. We saw how DeMar and Zach LaVine worked out in Chicago. It wasn't really the greatest thing. But maybe you pair them with a guy like Sabonis, and maybe it works out. Maybe it's different with a guy like Sabonis at that center/power forward position. The Kings have a talented roster, but one's probably like a playing-worthy roster. And unfortunately, they had to trade Fox. I don't think they're going to be able to keep him in the long run. This is a trade they had to make, and unfortunately, it just worked out the way it did.
Yeah, I think the Kings, what they needed to do was they needed to full reset. They're trying to stay in playoff competition, but DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and Sabonis is not going to do that in the West. It's just not going to. You don't have a consistent coach after just firing Mike Brown. This is not the team that it used to be. The light the beam era is borderline over. I don't like the fit. But they do potentially have 4 20-point per game scorers now. So yeah, you have a bunch of ISO players. Oh boy, I don't know exactly what the plan here is, but I mean we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. They get paid the big bucks for a reason.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Spurs, this is a huge acquisition. I can't say how huge this is going to be for the Spurs. You get a guy like De'Aaron Fox to pair with what they already have, and the Spurs are going to be good for years to come. This is a roster that's going to be built to win.
I think of it almost as like the Cavs. They have a team where everybody can play, and I think the Spurs kind of just gave themselves one of those teams where everybody's going to be able to show up when needed.
Agreed.
But a team that went on a full fire sale, the Washington Wizards. They got rid of everybody. Kuzma, Milwaukee, Valanciunas, I mean, wherever he went. I mean, look at all the guys on the screen here, all in different uniforms now. Evan, I'll turn to you first because you are the Wizards guy here.
Yeah.
Fire sale.
This is terrible. I hate this. I mean, I don't hate it, but I hate it. I think they made some decent trades. I mean, there's some of these guys that they traded for that have knowledge and have kind of like built their way up in the games, in the leagues. You know, they're not necessarily the best, but they started, and I think what the Wizards needed is they needed some knowledge. They needed some wealth, and they needed to know how the game is played. And the Wizards, they definitely struggled. They have a young team, so I'm sad to see Valanciunas leave. I'm sad to see Kuzma leave, but I don't hate, but I also don't love this trade. I don't know how to feel as a Wizards fan right now.
I mean, no one likes to blow it up. Let's be honest. No one loves whenever the team blows it up. I do. Kuzma needed to go. He was having his worst season yet. He's now on a team that could win a ring. Valanciunas, I mean, he's old, so I mean, he was out of there. Surprised about Johnny Davis, but Johnny Davis has just not been working out for the Wizards. Picking up Marcus Smart, he will likely be in the buyout market.
Yeah.
Would not be surprised if Marcus Smart is not there. And then looking at Chris Middleton, the Bucks, he did so much for that team. And from 2013 on to them winning a championship, and the Bucks said, "You know how we're going to repay you? We're going to send you to the purgatory of the NBA." And they sent him to the Wizards, where
honestly,
is
I mean,
irrelevant.
They could have gotten a little bit better value out of these guys. I mean, they got some older guys, Middleton, Smart, guys that are not going to be long-time Wizards. If you're going to blow it up, get some picks, get some youth. Instead, they got some veteran guys they didn't really need.
I disagree with that. I actually think somebody like Chris Middleton was the perfect person. I mean, like
for
I said,
a 7-8 win team.
They have a young team. They have some of the best rookies right now. They need somebody who has some knowledge, some game knowledge that can teach them and build up this team. I don't think they needed youth. I don't want a full youth team. I want somebody who has some knowledge and can bring some tips into these young rookies. And I think I don't know who works for the Wizards because they got the best rookies and now they're doing all these trades. So I think they know what they're doing.
I think they had a very good rookie class, and I do believe that Middleton will help some of those rookies transform into better players if he does end up staying. I think that's the biggest thing is, does he end up staying more than he would? But yeah.
We'll stay on the veteran talk. Jimmy Butler finally gets his wish. He is out of Miami. He is heading to Golden State to pair with Steph Curry.
So we have the NBA retirement home moving down to San Francisco as the Warriors now average age is almost 30 years old.
They're old.
They're old. Now, Jimmy Butler, don't get me wrong, he is a fantastic player, and what he did to the Boston Celtics every single year was bad. However, that was because he was the number one option. I genuinely believe that Andrew Wiggins was a better fit for this team than Jimmy Butler was. In my opinion, he played better defensively. He won't be as good offensively, but Jimmy Butler's just going to cause more harm than good, and you're going to be paying a 37-year-old, once he gets to that age, a massive contract. And that's what scares me is he already said he didn't want to be here, and then he just signed the contract because he had to be. So now you have a guy that's already notorious for being unhappy all the time. Unhappy day one.
2 years, like 100-something. It was insane, the deal he just signed.
Yeah, and I mean, he's one of the highest paying NBA players, and if you put it on a chart and look at producing, he's one of the least producing on that list. So I think this was a move of selling tickets. Jimmy Butler, people want to go see him. He's kind of like infamous. I don't really think this was a strategical play.
I agree with that part, but I think it was more of a move that the Warriors, they said they were going to make a move at the deadline. Their first few options fell through, so they just went to Jimmy Butler. I mean, they wanted KD, they wanted other guys, but they weren't able to land them.
Desperation.
So they just had to land back on somebody, like desperation, like you said. They had to land on somebody. They did, and I think Wiggins is going to go ball out in Miami. I really do. I really do.
Yeah.
And the big trade that we saw back in the day, Andrew Wiggins, Kevin Love, they are now on the same team.
Yeah.
A little Cinderella story in the making there.
Back to the Lakers. They trade their young guy, Dalton Knecht, for a center that they needed desperately, Mark Williams. This one's big for the Lakers. They traded away their center, Anthony Davis, They got one in return for Dalton Knecht, who I don't know about trading him because he's had a pretty good year for the Lakers so far. One of the best rookies in the NBA, I think. And I think Charlotte is a good guy here.
I'm gonna say this right now, because I've seen this and it's starting to tick me off. The NBA fans, the casual NBA fan, does not watch Charlotte games, so they don't understand who Mark Williams is.
Yeah.
Mark Williams is the best center that they could have gotten that is available. Mark Williams was a better center than anyone that was even made available. Now, his injuries is a problem, but when he does play, he averages a double-double. He's one of the best productive centers on the court. The issue is, can he stay healthy? Mark Williams, I loved him at Duke. I loved him in Charlotte. He is a great fit. Now, I'm shocked that they had to give up Dalton Knecht, but who else would the Hornets have taken? I think this was the Hornets basically pulling them like, if you don't take Mark Williams, you're not winning a championship, so give us Dalton Knecht, you're not getting him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in theory, Dalton Knecht could be really good for these Hornets, but I also kind of think back to Dalton Knecht this year, and I think of his games, and he's kind of just standing in the corner, pops a three, and that's, I mean, I just don't know if he's going to be able to, because he might be started for this Hornets team. I don't know if he's going to be able to show up, because he played on a very talented team, and now he's on a team that needs him really bad.
I mean, he was one of the best scorers in college, if not the best.
Yes.
I wanted him to win, to go to the Hornets, and then they didn't pick him at 6. So now, I mean, honestly, they're just fantasy booked it like 3-4 months later.
Listen, I think the Hornets had a good deadline. I think they got younger. They got a little bit better for the future. I think they'll be good in a few years. You still got Ball. You got Knecht. Now you got some guys that can play some ball in Charlotte.
And they have a solid center in Nurkic, who's a board monster.
Yeah, you got Nurkic. That's right. I forgot about Nurkic from Phoenix. There's so much trades, I couldn't even remember all of them. But we'll get to one last one, and this one doesn't make as much sense as some of these other ones. The Pelicans trade Brandon Ingram to Toronto?
Yeah, he went from obscurity to obscurity. I mean, it didn't make much sense to me. Most teams you see sell their winning players. They're good players to winning teams, not you're good players to also losing teams. And I don't understand it fully, but the Raptors did just get a lot better. I think the fit is nice. I think it'll look good. Now, they do have a lot of ball-dominant players, and that's where the question does lie is, who's going to run the offense?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just one of those trades where, they kept their eye on this guy and it works for them. Yeah.
I mean, they have a solid youth core. You still have Scotty Barnes there at the 4, and you can put BIN at the 3. It's a good lineup for the future. I think Toronto is starting to build a little bit of something. It's just going to take a minute to get this all to work. Obviously, if he can stay healthy, he's going to be a great player. He's always been a great player. It's just about injuries. Can he stay healthy for Toronto? And I think the Raptors have a solid player in Brandon Ingram.
I mean, this is a player that was compared to Kevin Durant. Yeah. He has the body like Kevin Durant. He's going to have now the opportunity to be, in my opinion, a number 1 guy with the ball in his hands. I think he'll have the ball more than Scotty. And I do think that the Raptors in the Eastern Conference, that is extremely weak, now has a chance to make a big splash.
What a wild deadline, guys. But in the MLB, some moves were made as well. We'll get to that next. Time for some baseball talk. Some of the last free agents winding down. Some moves being made possibly. The Cardinals might be trading Nolan Arenado to Boston. Jackson, yourself as a Cardinals fan, thoughts on the possibility that he becomes a Red Sox in the near future?
He wants to leave. I feel like that getting rid of him, I don't want to keep somebody who doesn't want to be here. They're not going to play, they're not going to try. And he wants to win. He had his legacy here, he had his legacy in Colorado, and now he wants to win a championship. I understand that Red Sox are not a bad spot to go to do that. They have a good core. And putting him at 3rd, getting kind of a defensive help, moving Devers to DH or first, if you will move. I like the move for both teams.
I do. I think that the Red Sox have had a fantastic offseason. And I think that they have now made themselves somewhat relevant in an insane division in baseball, and I do believe that Nolan Arenado can be one of those keys to help with their hitting, especially against lefties. They play in a division where a lot of the fields are better for lefties, or for left-handed, or for right-handed hitters, sorry. And I do believe that they will thrive a little bit more because having an Arenado like that with some pop and also the best defensive third baseman of all time.
Yeah, I mean, like you both said, the Red Sox have made some great moves, and they're missing maybe a piece or two from becoming a real contender in the AL. I think this is a needle mover if they're able to land Arenado, put him at third base like you said, and this is going to be a solid team, the Red Sox. Obviously a tough division to play in, but what kind of return do you expect from the Red Sox if he is to go to Boston?
The Cardinals are trying to find their footing. Right now they have a GM who is training his replacement in Mozeliak training Chan Bloom, but I feel like they're going to try to like start young. Everybody's going to be young on the team. Our expected roster is very young. The oldest player probably being Contreras at first, and I expect prospects. I expect some money to come with it. I just want more than what we gave up, which was Austin Gomber and a player to be named later. So it doesn't need to be a lot. I know he's getting up there in age, but young, just another core to kind of help build, because the Red Sox have a young system.
If we're being honest with ourselves, they get more no matter what, because they didn't give up much for Arenado. If they get a bag of I don't know, nacho cheese Doritos, I think that they would still get more than what they gave up. But
on to your Blue Jays. They did not land Pete Alonso as he stomps the floor. He going back to the Mets, and the Mets just had themselves a fantastic offseason. Juan Soto re-signed Pete Alonso, and they keep a lot of that main core that took them to the playoffs last season. The Mets have a squad, but Charles, I know you're a little bit upset about this one because the Blue Jays did not land their main guy.
the Blue Jays are the best at one thing and one thing only, and that is getting second place in every single signing. Second place for Sasaki. Second place for Alonso. Second place for Ohtani last year. Third place for Juan Soto. It's what we do best. We are the best at just, sprinkle our names. Let's get our fans excited. And then they sign somewhere else. So that's normally how it goes. Toronto has the money. They have the market. Just they can't seem to push themselves over the edge. And I think one of the biggest things that they're going to have to do if they're going to push themselves over the edge is sign Vladdy to a long-term deal. If you can say, hey, we have a superstar in Vladdy, one of the best hitters in the league, then people are going to want to start to play for you more, because right now, Vladdy, there's a toss-up chance that he's not even a Blue Jay next year. Why would you want to sign that?
Yeah. But Jackson, for the Mets, you re-sign Pete Alonso, you get Juan Soto, you keep a lot of that core you had. This is huge.
Yes, it's a big deal, but we're going to have to redo this all over again in just a few years. They didn't sign him to a long-term deal.
He has opt-out, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, he has a 2-year deal with an opt-out for a third-year chance, and I don't think that's what the Mets really wanted to do. I think this is what Alonso wanted, not really wanting to set his future in New York. But the Mets, they want him for 10 years. They want him to be
the Blue Jays were offering him almost 10 years.
They want him for a lifelong deal, and for him to become a Met. And if Alonso thinks this team might not work out, let me test the waters, and then we'll see in a few years.
Time for our rookie report, and we will begin with Charles.
First thing we're going to talk about is Lane Hudson. He is the Canadiens' new defender, and he is currently the point leader in the entire NHL for all rookies. He has been phenomenal on the assists. He's been great on ice. He plays about a third of the game right now for the Canadiens. The Canadiens are a young team looking to try and figure out what is going on here. Lane Hudson has been a very good addition for them this year.
I think that's just best said. A defensive who can also play offense at the same time. It's kind of something the Canadiens needed to look at, and they got their guy in the draft, a guy who's, like we talked about, young, rookie in the rookie report, obviously, but somebody who's going to be on the team for a while, somebody who's going to make issues.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's going to be a fantastic piece for this team. He leads, he's top 3 in the team on assists as a rookie, and he currently leads all rookies in assists and points. I mean, like I said, he's been a game changer for this Canadiens team.
We talked De'Aaron Fox earlier. Let's talk another San Antonio Spur. My rookie of the week is Stefan Castle. This guy, possibly the rookie of the year right now. 12 points per game, had a great game at Memphis, 21-6-5. Right now in last NBA rankings, he is the #1 rookie in those rankings. And the fact that the Spurs were able to keep this guy in that De'Aaron Fox trade, and he has been arguably the best rookie in, well, what's a rough rookie class? The Spurs are building something crazy here. And Stefan Castle, this guy is one heck of a talent.
Yeah, he was great on UConn. He's great at the Spurs. The fact that 12 points per game is the high for all rookies just shows you how bad this rookie class is. That is insane. But Stefan Castle, I mean, he has been fantastic for the Spurs, and he's going to be a very key piece and one of the few teams that got a key piece from this draft. And I do believe that he is the best rookie so far, other than I think Jared McCain has outplayed him, but he got hurt. So
We'll move back to the NHL with Jackson. And who's your rookie of the week?
I picked the San Jose Sharks' own Celebrini, the first overall pick. He has been pretty well he's been the light spot on a very bad team. The Sharks, who fall 32nd in the league, lowest in points, but they have improved from last year, where they sit around the same points already where they were last year, having 4 less wins right now. But he has 17 goals, 22 assists, and 39 points over the season. And I feel like if the Sharks are going to continue this path, they have the one young guy. They continue in the draft to get Probably they'll get a top 5 pick this year, most likely, and help boosting their team.
Celebrini has been the best player on the Sharks this year as a rookie. He's young, and he has been a very bright spot in a very grim San Jose.
3 great rookies this week, a great show this week. We'll get back next week with the Super Bowl champion on Grand Slam Sports.